Hey YouTube, I'm back this week, weekly 18 I think. I had a really good weekend. I hope you guys enjoyed my very blurry video last week of me playing Sonata Brave. I got to play it at the audition and it went great. We'll see how that goes, we'll find out. Got to go down to LA, see some friends, it was super fun. And I missed all the bad weather here and in LA, so I just got to, I don't know, it was awesome. Minus traveling for like 2 days straight. One on either end. Alright, so I got a nice short weekly this week. Haven't had a lot of time to like flesh things out, since I got back. Really super busy, like finding jobs and stuff. So I've only got two short things. Number one, and this is really simple, and I may have mentioned it before, but use a metronome. And that's pretty much it. That's the gist of it. Use a metronome. In like the 2 or 3 weeks coming up to my audition, I used metronome every day for my entire warm-up. Basically just at one setting, because Sonata Brev is supposed to be 88 beats per minute, so I was like, well, I may as well ingrain that in my head. And so I just set it on 88, and I did pretty much my whole warm-up set to 88. And it's a really good tempo, just kind of in the middle of everything. It's not too slow, not too fast. And it made a huge difference. I mean, practicing the pieces with metronome, of course, is great. I do that too. Find the right metronome marking, make sure you're playing with it. And it'll just make your piece so much more consistent, I guess. I've even started using it on some other pieces that I learned without metronome, like a dummy. And it's made a huge difference on those, and it feels better now. So, use a metronome. Anyway, I used it on 88 because I needed to know 88 really well so I could just nail that tempo. So, when I did that, I'd have the metronome going, like it is right now. You guys can probably hear it. And I would use, instead of hearing the downbeats as downbeats, I hear them as offbeats. One, oh my god, now I can't do it. The problem is switching them in my head. Sometimes I have to turn it on and off. Okay, no metronome. 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'll just do exercises and stuff like that. 1, 2. For instance, I did basically all my flexibilities and stuff at 88 with the metronome, using it as offbeats, and that has made a huge difference as well. Because like using them as downbeats, it's pretty simple. I mean, it's every beat. But when you use it as the offbeat, you really have to make sure you know exactly where the middle of that beat is, especially when you get to things like syncopations, triplets. Triplets are super hard because none of the notes you're playing land on the actual click in the metronome. They land in between, like on either side. And so you have to know exactly where that middle of that beat is all the time. And then you get stuff like 16th note runs and stuff. If you play the 16ths too fast to get to the next beat, then none of them will land on the beat. So I recommend, if you're playing around with stuff with the metronome and it's not too fast tempo marking, I only use this up to like 100 maybe. Use the on-beats as off-beats. It's kind of hard to get used to, but it's really good. And like I said, if it's too fast, like the second movement is at like 152, you can't really hear, let's see, there's 167. I can like kind of feel the middle as a beat, but it gets really convoluted. I just don't feel it as well, so I just use it as a downbeat. But for slower tempos, and even slower than 88 like I was using, it's like using it as the offbeat. It's so cool. It makes a huge difference. Alright, so that's number one. Use a metronome. And I use the Tunable app for Android. It's also on iPhone. There's another big one. I can't remember what it's called. There's a good one for iPhone that's only on iPhone. Also, I have an app called, let's see, what is it called? Applications. How do I have 4 pages of apps? It's on here, I swear. Maybe it's not. Okay, well I have another app that's a programmable metronome, and you can program each measure to come, so it can be like, I want 4 measures, then 2 3 4 measures, and then 4 more 2 4 measures, but they're at 180 instead of 172, so you can set up like an entire song and have a metronome going. And if you're multi-tracking or something, and you have a piece that's more complicated than just 4 at the same tempo the whole time, you can set up your own metronome to fit that song every time. It's kind of hard to use, but it's super useful for anything more complicated than like the most simple music. So, that's out there. Alright, so done with the metronome. My second thing is that I've been having some troubles with my low register, and you can probably hear in my videos, like my low F is really bad. It's probably the worst note of my instrument in general. And just like a little like down to like B and up to like the G above that, so pretty close, are just like not very centered. They didn't feel good. I don't like making attacks on those notes because I feel like I'm going to flub them. I don't like to legato tongue because I feel like I'm probably just going to flub the next note. Anyway, I was wondering if that was my horn or not, and I asked some things on the internet, and I got this great tip from Harold, who plays bass trombone in Florida in a symphony, a big symphony. He's really good. And it's really simple because I don't know about you guys, but even though I don't buzz now very often, I can't buzz very low. I can only buzz down to like G or F, like really solidly. And that doesn't really help buzzing low register stuff if you can't buzz the low register. And he said, instead of doing that, buzz with the mouthpiece and the top slide tube with the outer slide off. It's not something I would have thought of. I think I've done it probably as like a kid, just messing around, but I've never thought of it as a practice tool. And it has made a huge difference. So, I haven't really done a whole lot with this yet. I've just been doing Bordoni number 2, and I just do like the whole etude on the lead pipe and the mouthpiece, or on the upper slide tube of the mouthpiece, and then I play it afterwards. So, here's an example. Wasn't totally correct at the end, but it gives you a general idea. The only problem with it, I shouldn't take this off, is that the range, it kind of like has a gap in between like D and F or something like that. So I can play C sharp. So I guess it's C sharp to D above the staff. Don't exist. So C sharp to E flat. My bad. I haven't actually checked out the top note. So you can't play pretty much anything in between those notes, which is kind of annoying because those are pretty important. But the real application of this, of course, is the range below that. And man, it just feels great. The first couple times I did that, I couldn't center low F, and I was like, why can I not do this? And then I've played it a few more times, I've really worked at it, and it's made a huge difference. Of course, it is really hard. You need to hear the pitch before you play it. That's why I give myself a starting C. And then, of course, you can use a tuner alongside. I think mine just died. Yeah, it did. You can use a tuner alongside or like a piano. And it's probably easier if you take the slide off of the horn. It's really unbalanced, really wants to go backwards into the side. Play next to a piano, play with yourself or something to really know what your pitches are. And I really messed up the end, and I had a C that was too sharp and stuff. So you get the idea. It's pretty hard to center those notes. And you don't have to do etudes or anything, just do scales, Anything like that. It just feels so good. And like pedals and stuff are really hard on it too because there's not quite the same amount of back pressure, but if you can play them on the upper slide tube, then you can probably play them on the instrument. So that's my low range tip for the month probably. I don't know if I have any more. Play stuff on the upper slide tube. It feels great. And just make sure you're playing in tune and that the note is centered. Also, I don't think I do it super loud. I can't really tell because the sound is just like going off in the distance, but you don't have to like really nail it to the wall. It uses a little more air than the actual horn. So have a good week, guys. I'll be back next week. Give me more suggestions. I haven't gotten any for a while. I think I got something recently, but I can't remember what it was, and I don't think it was enough to make a whole video on. So give me suggestions. I love more. I have a couple things in the works, but I'm really gonna have to plan them out. So have a good week, guys.